So great day here at Primary Bank, joined by Tim Schaller from the Boston Bruins and hundreds of Bruins fans who lined up here as early as a couple hours before the event. Joined by Dave Schaller, who is known now as the brains of the operation, because I referred to him as that earlier. But Dave is the brainchild behind this Timmy Heads T-shirt and the overall movement. But welcome to the program.
Thanks. It's really nice of you guys to have us here and help us raise some money for the Jimmy Fund.
So going back to that, the Jimmy Fund, obviously a charity that's very important to you and your brother. Explain to me how you got involved with the charity to begin with.
Well, we initially just made some heads, the big heads that you're seeing on the shirt, and had them Timmy's games just for fun to kind of pick on him while he's on the ice. And they transformed into shirts. The heads transformed about 3 feet high. Now we sell them for the Jimmy Fund, and it's all good for a good cause.
It's a great cause. Obviously has a potential to impact quite a few people along the way, and you're one that was impacted by a donation that your brother made years ago.
Yep. Yeah, so I was in college, and I ended up needing a bone marrow transplant because I had aplastic anemia. So luckily I had a match with my brother, and I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him. He saved my life. So it's a pretty good cause for us to give back to what we were given in back in the day.
So taking it from a less serious note to something more fun, for your brother, it's a dream being able to play about an hour from where he grew up. For you, what kind of a dream is it to have him playing that close that you can go to the games and your friends can go as well?
It's a dream come true for both of us, I think. He does the work and gets to play out there, and I get to have the fun and watch him, as much as I can every game. I don't think I've missed a game yet this year. I mean, I don't go to them all, but I get to watch them all at least as close as possible.
It's a lot of dedication involved in that, and I guess it's a rough job, but somebody's got to do it, right?
Exactly. Someone has to have fun while he's working, right?
You might as well.
Yeah.
So one thing that we did talk to him about was, I don't know that at his age I would have been able to handle the pressures of playing an hour from home with people texting you for tickets, wanting to go out after games, things like that. How difficult is that for the both of you to manage on a day-to-day basis, just the demands on his time and trying to focus on a very long hockey season?
It's certainly tough because, growing up so close to where he's, everyone dreams of being on the Boston Bruins, and then he actually makes it. It's like, oh, holy cow. Now you don't know the storm that's coming of everybody that comes and wants to go to games, wants to meet up with you now because you're a Boston Bruin. You're not only a professional player, but you're now like a hero to them, But I like to deflect as much as possible and help them out, If people come up and, I don't know, I just like to help them out as much as I can and stuff like that.
It's got to be a lot of fun. It's got to be a little bit challenging. And so you're wearing the Timmy Heads T-shirt. Of course, this will air after the fact that we're here at Primary Bank. But for those T-shirts, how would somebody get a hold of their own?
You can go to www.tim-schaller.com, and you can order shirts, you can order raffle tickets, you can order the big jumbo heads that we hold up in the crowd. And we actually have a surprise raffle that's coming out, I believe, next week. That's going to run till the end of the season. So that's going to be very exciting.
Surprise raffle. So if you want to learn more about that surprise raffle, you can go to tim-schaller.com, and you'll see all the information about it. Well, Dave, we appreciate all the work that you've done in bringing him here, and look forward to a great rest of the season for him.
Yes, me too. Thank you.
Here with Julie Wood, who is a development officer for the Jimmy Fund and obviously instrumental in making this event happen today. So Julie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys so much for hosting this. This is incredible. I'm really excited.
So big day up here. Of course, Tim Schaller and Dave Schaller have been a big part in raising funds for the Jimmy Fund in the last year or so. Talk a little bit more about the program that those two have put together for you.
Yeah, so it's pretty incredible. I'm sure you've heard the story of Tim being Dave's donor when he needed a bone marrow transplant, but since then they have funded a few Jimmy Fund programs. Most notably last year they funded the Week of Summer program, which was really fun for the kids. The whole clinic for a full week gets just goodies and treats and fun little summer activities. This year it's still up in the air what they're going to fund. Some things on the table are Night at Fenway, Superhero Week, so we'll see what they want this year.
Now, each year, how many children are impacted by those programs?
I would say so. We roughly see about 300 patients a day in the clinic. So if the Week of Summer program goes on for a week, my mental math is really bad, 2,100 about. Yeah. Somewhere near there, yeah.
So that's an impact on a lot of lives, of course.
Absolutely.
Now, on a day-to-day basis, what is your involvement with the Jimmy Fund as a development officer?
Yeah, so I'm responsible for fundraising for the Jimmy Fund. I don't know if people know this, but Dana-Farber and the Jimmy Fund are entirely nonprofit. So day to day, I work with people such as Dave that volunteer and decide to throw fun events to benefit the Jimmy Fund, and I basically just help them in any way I can. Dave kind of takes it and runs, but I'm always at events and helping set up and all that good stuff.
Yeah, he is a unique guy. He is hardcore, to say the least. If he has a vision for something, he wants it done a certain way, that's the way it's going to go.
He's going to take my job, I swear. I mean, he's so good at it.
It's so what you guys do on a day-to-day basis. How long have you been with them, and tell me the best story that you've seen in the time that you've been with them.
Okay, so I've been there about a year and a half now. This is a really good story, but probably my most memorable story was it was my first week, and I was at the Special Events Appreciation Night, and a former patient got up to speak. She was a metastatic breast cancer survivor. Metastatic breast cancer is generally terminal, so she was a rare exception that had a successful clinical trial, and she spoke about how she was pregnant with her child when she got re-diagnosed, her third child, and she ended up in remission, had the child's fine, and she's been doing well for 10 plus years now. And I just remember standing at the back of the room and just bawling up, and I said, "This is your first week, you can't cry." But it was just incredible to see people that are not only have been treated but are undergoing treatment and are still so excited and willing to give back. I mean, it really restores your faith in humanity.
Well, there are a lot of people and obviously a lot of stories too, and the amount of courage that's required for somebody to go through an illness, as well as the strength that their families can provide to help them, and the amount of support that you can give to those families, that should inspire all of us.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, if this isn't a great example of it, I don't know what is, because they've all come together, friends, family, the town. It's incredible.
Well, Julie, we appreciate the time, and thank you for making the trek up from Boston.
Oh, of course. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Being a local guy, of course, things are a little bit different here than if you were living in San Jose. You have buddies probably texting you, calling you for tickets, people want to do stuff with you, things like that. How difficult is it to separate the on-ice and the off-ice, not even pressures that are there, but just the other considerations that might be there?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's what I was kind of worried about at first when I was signed, to see, to make sure I would be able to control myself off the ice, because there are temptations to, your buddies are down in town, but at the same time you need to rest. So yeah. That's when I kind of told myself, you need to be a professional about it, and don't be afraid to say no to your buddies. And I love all my friends to death, but there's times where on a Saturday night I need to go to bed, and
right.
They all understand that though. They want to have myself have a successful career and all that stuff, so they understand that. But it's a lot of fun having friends and family down all the time, and my parents come to every game, so that's pretty cool.
That's fun.
But yeah, there's always temptations from all the hometown buddies, but I've handled it pretty well.
I was going to say you handle it far better than I would have at your age, so yeah. Kudos to you for that. Yeah. So the reason that you're here is to raise funds for the Jimmy Fund. Obviously, that's a charity that's very important to you, to your brother, and your family as a whole. Talk a little bit about the process years ago when he was diagnosed with aplastic anemia to help him heal, and what went into that for you, both with the actual donation and then after.
Yeah, so he was diagnosed with aplastic anemia 2007, and my parents never really told me how severe it was, to not really scare me, and I thank them for that now. But looking back at it now, I can't imagine, knowing that at the time, I would have freaked out. So I'm glad I didn't know too much about it then. But finding out I was going to be able to save my brother's life with a bone marrow transplant, there was no hesitation to say no. And lucky enough, the transplant worked. His numbers started getting better every day, and we had to go and see him with gloves on, masks on, put robes on to see him. So. It was so tough seeing him and suffer in the hospital bed. He's one of the strongest kids I know, though, so he would always have a smile on his face no matter what condition he was in. Some days we didn't know how he was, so cheerful or talkative, but he just battled through it. And nowadays he's doing fine, and we're to the point where we can joke about him having my blood, so he's good to go for the rest of his life. And he's the type of kid, though, that'll joke about it like that. So, but at the same time, we know the severity of what he went through, and
right.
How strong he was to get through it, and now for him to give it back to the hospitals that he was in when he was doing treatments is pretty special.
How tough was it for you as a teenager at that point, kind of having to be on the shelf for the better part of a couple months, not even carrying a backpack?
Yeah, it was tough. At that time in my life, baseball was my favorite sport, and it wasn't hesitation for me to say yes to my brother. So I missed my baseball season, which was fine, but it was tough. I didn't. My friends didn't really know what was going on because they didn't really understand that type of stuff, nor did I. Luckily, the doctors and stuff were able to teach us about it, and, we learned how severe it was and all that stuff. So my friends never really understood at that point, what was going on. But, it was a crazy time, and, we're lucky enough to say that we got through it.
Right, and now, of course, his energies are dedicated to managing the innumerable requests that come in for you to do appearances and interviews and things along this line. But the other thing that he's been super instrumental in is building that whole Timmy Heads brand and creating loyalty behind it. And it's got a good following online, too.
Yeah, he's done awesome with that. He's one of those guys where if he puts his mind to something,
he's a passionate dude.
He's going to run with it. And I tell him all the time I appreciate him picking a picture of mine that's not too bad, because I see it everywhere. So, but he's done an awesome job. The message he's sending by giving back to the hospital is awesome. And we have a good friend support who have spread the word as well. And he's doing a good job with going to games and marketing it and all that stuff. So he's done an awesome job, and he's been through a lot with what he's had in the past, and now he can spread it along and be charitable for it. So it's pretty good. It's
a labor of love for him. So what are you looking for the rest of the season?
We have a lot. Hopefully, the season's a lot longer than last year. So hopefully, we have a short summer, and the whole team pulls together like we did earlier this year. And everyone's on the team; they're in it to win it. There's not one person who's looking for a short summer. So we expect to go all the way, and hopefully we do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the time. Thank you for coming out today. We certainly appreciate it, and look forward to having you met by the horde that's awaiting you downstairs.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yep.
With me is the chairman of the board of Primary Bank, a man who has been very instrumental in making this happen, Bill Greiner. Bill, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Loren. Appreciate you coming here and helping out.
Of course. So talk to me about how this whole thing happened. Of course, we're fortunate that we have a guy who's a Merrimack native, played at Providence College, now plays for the Bruins, and this is a homecoming of sorts for him.
It is. I've known Tim for a little while. He was born and raised in Merrimack, actually ended up playing high school hockey for Merrimack High School before going off to Providence College. Tim is a friend of the bank and asked him a couple of months ago if he'd consider doing an event here at the bank, signing, taking pictures, and raising money for the Jimmy Fund, which I know is a cause very near and dear to his heart and his family. And of course he said yes, and today we've had hundreds and hundreds of people come from all over New Hampshire and Mass to get a chance to meet Tim, get some things signed and some pictures taken. So the bank's happy to help out, do what we can with Tim and his charity, the Jimmy Fund.
And there are a lot of people here who are definitely hockey fans, big-time Bruins fans. We had the first set of people lining up at 1:40, so kind of a big deal. You realize just how deep the hockey culture is up here in New England.
Yeah, people were in line over 2 hours before the event actually started. And what was great is there was an opportunity for some of the younger hockey players to do a small mini session with Tim before the event started, where they were able to ask him questions about themselves, their games, and his game, which I think was a great and unique opportunity for kids to play hockey. Having watched him grow up and play hockey here, he's one that a lot of those kids look up to and think that one day they can be just like him.
When you first started hockey, what was your favorite part about it?
Favorite thing about hockey growing up was probably being with my friends. I know a lot of you guys said that, being with your friends. Going to the rink every day and getting to play a game with your friends was always pretty cool. Sometimes you went to school with them, sometimes you didn't. So you see friends that you don't see all the time maybe, but you make memories with your. I still remember the days I was playing mini sticks with my buddies in the hotel rooms when I was your guys' age. So just definitely hang out with friends, get to play with them every day. It's pretty cool.
What are you going to do after you're done playing hockey?
I don't know. Hopefully I don't have to worry about that for a long time, but first thing on my bucket list is to travel. I definitely want to travel, and then, in the hockey world you meet a lot of people, so hopefully somebody will have a job lined up for me or something, but I have my college degree, so hopefully that'll go a long way. So go to school, kids.
Do you have a question?
What's the best advice you ever received?
That's a good question. So the best advice I ever received was practice like it's a game. Practices are meant for you to get better, whether it's conditioning or better stick work, better skating, anything like that. So some people can take practicing for granted. Might not want to be there that day or something like that. But practices are where you get better, and if you practice hard in a practice, you'll see the results in the game. So I think practice like it's a game is the best advice I got.
What's the atmosphere like playing at the Garden, maybe scoring a goal or being part of a play as a player?
It's awesome. The fans are awesome at the Garden. If you're going in on like a 2-on-1 or a breakaway, you can hear the crowd getting loud. So it almost gets you a little nervous, but at the same time, it's exciting because you want to score and have a good celly so the fans can cheer for you. So I love it. Boston fans are awesome.
It was interesting to talk to him, and I know you're a hockey fan and of course a fan of another team, but some of his takes on players that he's excited to play with and some of the guys who are particularly challenging to play against. Have you happened to talk to him about any of that?
I have. He's got some pretty funny stories. As you know, I'm a fan of black and gold, but the other black and gold, the Pittsburgh Penguins, and he loves to tell me stories every time he plays a game against Pittsburgh. He'll give me an on-ice story that he has for me. Sometimes I think he does it just to have fun with me, but it is a lot of fun when you grow up and you get to play against some of the world's best players. You play with them, you play against them. It's memories that they'll have for a long time, and when they're on the ice, they're just having fun, living their dream, and it's great as a fan to just watch that happen.
Now, one other thing, too, and you mentioned the Jimmy Fund, and of course it's a cause that's very dear to their hearts. Both Dave and Tim have had their lives impacted by it, but how did you originally hear about that story?
I think I heard about it from Dave, Tim's brother, and I think we were going to a game in Pittsburgh to watch Pittsburgh and Boston play together, and he brought the story up, and that's kind of what got me thinking about, hey, it's a moving story. It's a story that could be anybody, anytime. Let's do something. Let's get the bank behind it, get some other corporate sponsors behind it. It was really easy to reach out to local businesses here and see if they would help support the Jimmy Fund. So we got businesses to line up right away and do that. And it was an easy ask to make of Tim. Tim was gracious and said absolutely. And his brother Dave said, you do whatever he could to make it a successful event, and that's sort of what it's been.
I will say it is not easy when you're the adult in a room of 16 youth hockey players, many of whom came with questions prepared, and he passed that test with flying colors.
He did. He's, I think, used to that kind of environment, but the same thing, he was a kid too, and his team growing up was the Boston Bruins, so he got to watch a lot of the players that are probably my age play, and those were his heroes, and now he knows what it's like to be in that other role, something he always hoped he could be, and so he's just kind of soaking it up, taking it as it comes, and I know he likes interacting with the kids just as much as anything else, because that's who he was 10, 15 years ago.
Well, you really see it on his face, and you realize what a good ambassador he is for Southern New Hampshire within the hockey world, as well as an ambassador to these kids and a role model for them, who the things that you and I might say if we're coaching a team might be lost on them. When it comes from a guy like him, can really be the difference for a kid who might have had a rough school day today and might be thinking about, well, I don't necessarily want to go to practice, bringing that intensity to practice on any given day, any given night.
No, that's absolutely true. And the one thing that's unique about Tim and his journey and his story, every hockey player has a different story, is that unlike most who, when they're 14 or 15 years old, they go and they move away from town. They'll maybe move a couple thousand miles away to play in a junior league somewhere and live with a family that's completely foreign to them, but that's their culture. Tim made a conscious decision he was not going to do that. He played high school hockey for Merrimack High School. That's something that's extremely rare when you look at professional athletes in hockey today, and chose to play in a small junior program local so he could stay local and go to high school local. And then when he was done, fortunate enough to play college hockey at Providence. So his whole world has been local, whereas most kids that are going up through the system like he would have been, gone somewhere else. Maybe they went to college, maybe they didn't. But either way, when they were 14 years old, they've moved out of their home. So Tim is very well grounded, very much in sync with the community here. And so a lot of these kids see that in them. They realize if they work hard and they put their effort in every single day, they too might be just like Tim Schaller, get a chance to stay home, play local, and maybe make it to the NHL one day.
Well, there were definitely some kids wearing Flames jerseys who brightened up a little bit when he said that he was a Manchester Flame back in the day. Well, Bill, we appreciate the time and appreciate all you did in making this event happen today.
Thank you, Loren. Appreciate it. And this is, like I say, it's great success, and happy to do what we can to help the Jimmy Fund.
Thank you. Our thanks to the good folks at Primary Bank, as well as Tim Schaller and his brother Dave Schaller, who were both instrumental in putting the event on, as well as our friends from the Jimmy Fund and the good folks who were kind enough to sponsor the event here at Primary Bank. So thank you as well to everybody from BCTV, and just a quick reminder to you as well, support the Jimmy Fund and go Bruins.